Yo, what up, and welcome to my September and October reads, because last couple of months have been a bit crazy for me, especially October, so I haven't had chance to film anything for a while, so I thought I'd just do those things together. And I wanted to tell you one more thing, that I've been tagging the books, so if you want to only listen to my review on a certain book, then you can go to that info box below the video and you can see that I've tagged all the different books there. So you don't have to sit through some books you don't really care about. But let's get started, and before I show you any of the books that I have right now with me, I'll just quickly go through the books I don't have with me. So there are 3 books in total, and those are the ones that I read for university for my world literature lecture. And those are King Oidipus by Sophocles, which was, well, it's Oidipus. I think everybody has read it. It's a tale that maybe shouldn't have been told. I don't know, I always feel a bit icky reading it, but yeah, especially some of the language, like the seed has been plowing the field, and just gross. The other one was, I'm not sure how it's in English, but Rain and Moonlight Stories by Ueda Akinari. It was basically ghost stories set in Japan, written by a Japanese author, I think in 17th century or something close to that. And those were pretty interesting, besides the fact that it was very male-centered view of everything. So all the ghosts were wronged women, and then the men were like, oh, why are they coming back? I only cheated on them, like, I don't know, several times. So yeah, I definitely suggest reading that one if you haven't. It goes by really quick. And the last one was the biggest surprise from me from the world literature lecture, and it was Shakespeare. And the book was Midsummer's Night Dream. I know it's crazy, I haven't read it before, but yeah, I read Macbeth and Hamlet, so I had quite a grim view, and I didn't even realize that Shakespeare can be so funny. So I really enjoyed that book. It goes by so fast. If you haven't read it, just pick it up, and I loved it. I laughed out loud several times while reading it, and I was at work at the museum, so people upstairs were like, suddenly everybody shut up because I was laughing so hard. So I kind of had to check myself, but I absolutely loved it, and I think I kind of get it why people like Shakespeare so much. Okay, and last book that I'm going to tell you about is the Confucius text. How the hell do I translate it? Well, it's the main Confucius sayings and the main ideas of the philosophy that has been written down by his students, and well, it did help me to understand maybe the Chinese mind better, if I can make such a big generalization. But I think it kind of, yeah, maybe helps to understand why the society does things that it does and how it differs from the Western philosophies and Western thought. But yes, I've read the Taoist texts as well, and I think I prefer those. But yeah, I'm not trying to convert into anything else. So it was really, it was nice to have been, it was nice to read it. I feel smarter after having read that. So let's go to a book that didn't make me smarter after reading the thing, and that's Free Chocolate, and it's by Amber Royer. So if you can see the cover, what are words? If you can see the cover, then it looks really appetizing. I guess everybody loves chocolate, and it is marketed as a space soap opera. And I think that's a very right way of kind of summarizing what the book was. So it was really a soap opera. So there were so many things that were happening, and I was screaming at the book like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" Like this, several things popping up. Everything always constantly changing. There was a love story. There were like suspicious family members. So the main idea is that the Earth is the main importer of the exporter, the main exporter of chocolate to the rest of the universe, and the heir to the chocolate empire, kinda like she's the daughter of the most famous cook, and the cook is famous for her chocolate creations. So this girl tries to steal the chocolate to give it to whole universe, to kind of like break the empire and break this really dodgy company that is putting up out chocolate to the rest of the universe. And stuff happens along the way. She is in love with alien who actually stole most of Earth's different ingredients when they first made contact, but they didn't steal chocolate. So they're kind of like, is he really into her, or is it about chocolate? He's trying to steal the chocolate now and has influenced the girl. Oh my god, this has already been too long. I don't know if I should recommend it to you, but just be aware when you pick it up that it's a soap opera. Okay, and going forward, I'm just grabbing the things. This is the other sci-fi book I read, and it is Stars Are Legion. And I'm not sure if I should recommend this as well. The main idea why I picked it up was because it had all-female cast. So, like, yeah, that sounds interesting. And again, the beginning was a bit like, what is going on? I think I think you should read it because it shows that all-female cast can work, that you really don't need men, because women have all different types of emotions and agendas, and there are really varied characters in this book, so you really don't need men, and you really don't need to put women in sci-fi in only set roles. I've talked about this before, but yeah, it was really gross as well. I mean, this Stars Are Legion, the star where they travel, is this organic mass of things, so it's really like icky. There are like a lot of bodily fluids, there are pregnancies, there are just really gross stuff inside. So at times I was like, oh, this is too much, do I have to keep reading? So it really created this other world completely. And I think people have compared this to Hyperion, done by Dan Simmons, and I do think that it's close, because I remember feeling the same sort of like ickiness inside when I was reading about that. It's an experience. I think you should just read it so your sci-fi experience would be varied enough. I'm just picking up things as I go along. No, let's try this one. So now for something completely different. This is Atlas of Prejudice. Nailed it. And it's basically just different maps of Europe. And the idea was to kind of like have fun with it. No, I'm sorry, not Europe, whole world. So you can, and it doesn't age that well. It was interesting to see like these funny maps, how Russia thinks of Europe, how Italians think of Europe, how America thinks of rest of the world, how Great Britain thinks of Europe. So it's kind of like a play on these stereotypes. and it's funny thing to leaf through. But yeah, definitely don't pay more than €4 or maybe €5 or €6 for it, which I did, and I'm kind of contemplating ordering the second one, but I'm not sure if I would like it. I think, like I said, it doesn't age well, so the jokes that were funny in 2009 might not be that way. It's a book about maps, funny maps. Next one. Continuing on the visual wave, the book I read next, well, I didn't read next, the book I read as well was What is Gilbert and George, and I happened upon their exhibition in Helsinki when I was there for a concert, and completely unprepared to what they have been doing. I just stumbled in there. I was seeing an exhibition about Tove Jansson, about her murals, and I went to the other part of the gallery, and there was this huge exhibition about Gilbert and George and their recent, like 20 years or so, recent works, and my mind was blown away. It's so crazy. Like, just Google them, and the works are so huge. They're usually like 2 by 3 meters, and they are so loud. There are so many colors. There are so many problematic topics like terrorism, Islamic State, Judaism, Christianity, sex, prostitution, everything that they experience in East London. And when I was walking around there, I was like, oh, I hope I don't get blown up, because really it was, and there was a lot of like, yeah, there was a lot. So they are artists that have been active for 60 years. I shouldn't say artists, because they are like one entity. But yes, the works are like really loud. Like, this is just a small part of it. So there was a lot of things like this, and a lot of like bizarre stuff like this. And when you were going through the exhibition, you're like, they're saying something to me, but I'm not sure what, because there are so many things, so many colors, so many words just thrown at you. And this book was the same. So I was reading it. I wanted to find out more about them, and I think I found out more, but there is no, like, there is some kind of narrative, but they don't explain anything. So it's just words, a lot of adjectives, and you read through the chapter or even through the sentence, and you're like, but what did it tell me? So it's an experience. It isn't a book. It's an experience of their art, and yeah, I mean, it did tell me a bit more about them than the Wikipedia, but yeah, it was fun. Again, I felt like, I'm cultured, I'm smart. Okay, where are we going? The next book, I have 3 more books. I'm sorry, this will be so long again, but yeah. I do have 11 books, so... okay, the book that I hated the most these 2 months was First Contact by David Olusoga, The Cult of Progress. And this book looks really good, doesn't it? It's a hardcover, and I paid quite a lot of money for it, and I'm pissed. I mean, this summary of the book that is here, it doesn't match the insides of it at all. It's written in a way that it's presented as in-depth research. It sounds like you're going to read something that's well researched, something that's very well, yeah, scientific, but it's it's kind of like a lot of Wikipedia articles put together. I would say the only good thing, the strongest thing is the first chapter. And it's all downhill from there. So it's just I mean, look at this page. There's not a lot of information here. That wants to tell the story about how Europeans made contact with other countries, people, civilizations during the age of exploring, and what became of it. It wants to tell the story of what the civilizations were like, but it doesn't really do it. So it does describe some of the contacts, but then it just goes off talking about the artifacts and just basically describing them. So I thought that, what was it like? In part 2, The Cult of Progress, we see how the Industrial Revolution transformed the world, impacting every corner and every civilization, from the cotton mills of the Midlands through Napoleon's conquest of Egypt to the demise of both Native American and Maori populations, and the advent of photography in Paris in 1839. Sounds interesting, right? But it's basically just taking a couple of paintings or pictures and then attaching some kind of a story to it. So it's so on the surface, it's so non-scientific. It's just like some stories you would tell when you're behind a wine glass or something. I'm just it promises so much. I feel like I should go more in depth, but I did read it at the beginning of September, and I remember just being so thoroughly disappointed in it that I felt like you really need to match the summary to the insides, and I felt like the summary was so highbrow and the explanations were so like mediocre or common, or it did have nice pictures. Okay, and now really 2 good books to end it all. How the hell will I edit this thing? It's already over 20 minutes. Help! Okay, so the one of the highlights of these 2 months is this It's Only Blood, Shattering the Taboo of Menstruation by Dahlqvist. So this is a great book. It's about menstruation. It's really well researched. It's so interesting and easy to read. It tackles what's it like for women around the world to be faced with this topic of menstruation. How do they handle it? What kind of things they have to experience it? So like tampons, pads, what's it like in big factories in India, what's it like to live in Africa and certain poorer parts of poorer countries where a pack of pads could be the income of your family for a whole month. So it's really crazy, and it really makes you think about this topic so much more. And it's such a taboo. It's been with us since the dawn of humanity, and half of the population combats it, but still it's kind of like icky to talk about. And why I bought it was because when I saw the title I went ooh, and that was when I thought that okay, this reaction means that I need to read it, because I still have a lot of maybe not the like icky feelings, but it's still kind of topic. Like you don't when you go to change your pad or tampon, do you hide it in your hand? Do you take your bag with you, or do you just take it and go like yell it to everybody in the office? Yeah, I'm gonna change my tampon. Like this is the kind of thing that it talks about. It's great for I really want my friends to read it so we can have a discussion about it. So yes, definitely such a good find. And it really talks about how the menstruation affects women, their environment, their relationships, and really how it shapes how they feel about themselves and their sexuality. It's short, but it has a lot of good things, further recommendations where you can find more information. So super good book, really 5 stars, one of the best things I read this year. And the other book that I really loved was Dear Martin. So this is like realistic fiction, I would say. It's young adult, and it's realistic fiction about what is going on in USA. So how this young boy faces the discrimination that is going on the streets in United States. He's very clean cut. He doesn't do anything bad. It's just what happens to him due to him being black. And it has a lot of different views. It really isn't like trying to sell you this one idea. There are a lot of different ways of looking at the discrimination that goes on, and it presents them all, and you can make your own mind up then about this all. And it was a hard read because it was so unfair. You just feel it, that it's so unfair. And usually when this happens, these strong emotions that you feel when you read a book, you can always think that, well, it's only a book, like it doesn't happen in real life. But this does happen in real life. So I think it's a very important book to pick up for young people and even for old people to really understand what is going on. And the characters are very likable. The style is really good. It's short, which makes reading it fast. I mean, the author wrote herself that it was supposed to be 2 times or double the size, but I'm glad that she didn't went that way, because it means it's more accessible and you can just make up the things that doesn't happen here. It's very concise in a way. I loved it. It's really one of the best young adult books I read, and it was really cheap as well. I think it's just, again, the idea that everybody should be able to pick it up. And the Dear Martin thing at the beginning is he's writing letters to Martin Luther King. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, I think that's a good place to end this all. I hope you found something that you might want to read. And thank you for being with me. Please hit a like, hit a subscribe if you hadn't already. And I hope you liked it. Yeah, have a good November. Bye!